Hello everyone, and I hope you've had a very good week. Just over a year ago, I was driving south on the A34, and just north of Winchester, on a very quiet road, I saw what looked like a police motorcade driving northwards, and behind this, several large, rather sinister-looking white vans or caravans, and then behind this, some further motorcycle outriders. And this procession headed past me, going in the opposite direction, and I suddenly realized that this must be the arrival of COVID-19 on our shores. These were the patients who had been taken from the cruise ship at the time and were being taken north to Liverpool to self-isolate in a hotel. And if you remember, at this time there were hopes that COVID could be contained and that it could be stamped out straight away. But then things rapidly began to escalate. We had the whole business of the Cheltenham Festival, and people have been reflecting on that recently. And at OLA, we had to take some very quick decisions as to what would happen. This was the great time of herd immunity when schools were open. I remember many parents at the time being anxious that their children were still coming into school when other things seemed to be shutting down. And we had to cancel the careers convention that was due to happen at OLA at this time, which we do in conjunction with Abingdon School and St Helens and St Catherine's. I remember a Zoom meeting being set up with the heads of those two schools, and we were all discussing what this Zoom thing was. Nobody had really used it before, and we had to make the decision not to have the convention. Well, this year the convention is happening today, remotely, and there are many people involved with that. And I hope that those of you who have sons and daughters attending it they'll report back to you that it was a really useful event, because we've all learned how to do events that we used to do in person online. And this is very much the case with OLA's marketing events. We've had recently 3 Why Choose OLA lower school events, or Meet the Principal as we sometimes call them, where I've been with some of the lower school pupils and lower school teachers, and we've been talking to prospective parents remotely, and these have gone extremely well. And I've just been talking to our new head of marketing, Karen Sutton, about next term's open events and how far things are going to be able to open up in the school, whether we can have people in, and how quickly things are going to move. And of course, with the arrival of lateral flow testing, the situation has rather changed. Only on Wednesday, I sat down and did my first self-administered lateral flow test, and half an hour later got the news that I tested negative. And of course, all teachers are doing this twice a week now to ensure that we stay safe. I'd like to thank all of you senior school parents who brought your children in over last weekend. The testing went extremely well, and we were delighted that nobody tested positive, and we were able to start school on Monday with a clean bill of health, knowing that everybody coming into school had had a negative test. So thank you for that, and I know that many of you appreciated the fact that we did this before school started and that our team were able to come in. I'd like to thank them again through this for what they did then. Over the last couple of days, we've been having the in-school flow testing for the students again. So this is the second round of the testing. We've been doing that on the balcony of the CMA, and this is going very well. I've just been in there actually just to see how it's going along, and the timings we've set have worked well. So as I said last week, this involves minimal loss of lesson time for your sons and daughters, and we've really been able to capitalize on this 3-week window that we've got between coming back and the end of term. And one of the things we're doing is assessing how well the pupils have done over their time of remote learning, where they're at, whether any adjustments need to be made, and whether it's rather like it was in September, where we found that they'd made really excellent progress, and we could just continue more or less as normal. So lots going on at the moment, particularly, of course, with Year 11 and the upper sixth. So this critical time at the moment between now and the May half term, where teachers are gradually gathering evidence for the teacher assessed grades that they're going to be submitting. It's a unique situation. Nothing like this has ever happened before. And it's very understandable that the students are nervous about it, anxious about it, but we're trying to inject as much positivity as we can into it and reassure them that all our teachers want the very best for their students, and we're really looking to give them every opportunity to do as well as they can. The great thing about OLA, as you know, is that with our small class sizes, the teachers really know their pupils. They've known them over a number of years and can make excellent judgments as to how they're performing. Now, in the middle of all this, we do try and look outwards and think about what's happening in the wider world. And of course, we're in the great season of Lent at the moment, and we're preparing for our usual end of term Lent services, so the Passion service in the senior school and the Easter service in the lower school. These are going to be done remotely this year, recorded, so Mr. Farrow, Dr. Kaiser and the lower school staff are all working very hard on that at the moment, and we hope to be able to end the term in a way a bit like how we normally do it, but remotely. And then next term is the great question mark, because we are planning things to happen next term. There's a lot to be thought about here, because clearly the hope is that by the time we come to June and early July, much more social mixing will be able to happen. So things like prize giving, sports day, social events, musical events, drama, and so on are all being considered. And it would be wonderful to be able to end the term with your children having even more opportunities to socialize than they can at the moment. It's clearly been a very dark time for them to be so isolated between Christmas and now. It's bound to have an effect on their mental health, and we hope that the next few months will begin to ameliorate that. So thanks as usual for listening. I hope you have a good weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you again next week.